You want to talk about a guy who sprints.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a guy who's fast twitch. Aspinall is one of the fastest heavyweights. He might be the fastest heavyweight in the history of the sport. I don't think anybody moves like that guy does. At a 250-plus pound frame, his movement's extraordinary.
Joe Rogan has just reacted to Tom Aspinall's scary training footage ahead of his fight with John Jones. Joe Rogan said Tom Aspinall is different from every other heavyweight in the UFC. He said Tom might be the fastest moving heavyweight ever. Even though Tom weighs over 250 pounds, he moves like someone much smaller. His speed and footwork are something other fighters don't have.
You want to talk about a guy who sprints.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a guy who's fast twitch. Aspinall is one of the fastest heavyweights. He might be the fastest heavyweight in the history of the sport. I don't think anybody moves like that guy does. At a 250-plus pound frame, his movement's extraordinary.
Rogan explained that Tom doesn't just move fast, he also has knockout power. He can finish fights with one punch. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, he's a strong wrestler, and he's still young, which gives him a lot of room to grow.
Like his ability to move, like the way he moves, is so much different than everybody else in the sport. Incredible stand-up, knocks guys out with one punch, black belt in jiu-jitsu, really good wrestler, his everything, and he's young.
Joe Rogan said Tom Aspinall is the next big star in the UFC heavyweight division. He called him a complete fighter with elite jiu-jitsu, strong takedowns, and high-level striking. Rogan highlighted Aspinall's first-round knockout of Sergey Pavlovich, who he described as the scariest striker in MMA, and pointed out that Aspinall did it even with a hurt back. What really stands out, according to Rogan, is Aspinall's speed. At over 260 pounds, he moves like a much lighter fighter, which is something his coach focused on from the beginning. Rogan said speed is what separates Aspinall from the rest, and the most impressive part is that he's just getting started.
Who's next big heavyweight star?
Tom Aspinall, the guy who
Of
just
course, who
won
just
the
won.
interim title. He's phenomenal, and he is again the next the next advancement of the evolution of the sport.
How so?
Well, because he can do everything. That guy's got elite jiu-jitsu. He's got elite takedowns. His striking is outstanding. I mean, he knocked out Sergey, who's the scariest striker in all of MMA.
Yeah.
And he knocked him out in the first round. And the way he did it was just picture perfect. And he did it with a fucked up back. You watch Aspinall, like, I knew Aspinall was going to have a speed advantage because he's faster than any heavyweight.
Yeah.
And that's something that his coach drilled into him when he was young.
Speed.
Like, be fast. Like, you've got to be fast. That's what's going to separate you from everybody else.
Speed kills.
Speed. And he's a giant dude, 260 plus pounds, but he moves like a fast young guy.
Yeah.
Like a light guy. And so that's what's, and he's also just so well-rounded. And he's just beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, that was really the first big test of his career.
Joe Rogan said that while Francis Ngannou might have the scariest power in heavyweight history, Tom Aspinall brings something more dangerous: his speed. He pointed out that Tom moves like someone much lighter, and that kind of quickness is something no other heavyweight really has. According to Joe, Francis overwhelms people with power, but Tom gets there first. That speed, especially at 250 pounds, is a real problem for anyone standing across from him.
Can he do that with a guy like Aspinall, who's a legit 255-pound natural who moves like he's 80 pounds lighter? He's a freak, man.
Yeah.
Aspinall's a freak. Like, I've seen a lot of heavyweight, even Francis, who's like the greatest, scariest power striker I've ever seen in the heavyweight division. No one's scarier than Francis. Francis does not move like Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is significantly faster than every other heavyweight. That's a real problem.
Joe Rogan said Tom Aspinall is something special, describing him as a very unusual example because, despite being a heavyweight, he moves incredibly fast. Rogan pointed out that Aspinall's coach, Colin Heron, who also trained Darren Till, focused on speed from the start of his career. According to Rogan, Aspinall's natural speed, combined with his training, makes him stand out from other heavyweights. When Aspinall moves in, he closes the gap so quickly that it's impressive, especially for a guy his size.
Which is Tom Aspinall fights Pavlovich and takes that fight on 2 weeks' notice and becomes the interim champion and fucks his back up and can't train at all. But Aspinall, like, that guy's, he's something special. He really is something special. He's a very unusual example. because he's a heavyweight and he's a big guy, a really big guy, but he moves so fast. And his coach, Colin, I forget, it's from Cabal, this gym that he trains at in the UK. Colin Huron, he trained Darren Till. Colin, from the early days of the career, was like emphasizing his speed. And so his speed has always been like extraordinary compared to other heavyweights. Like he just moves in. It's all like fast, explosive movements. So he's got natural speed, but then he's also got a lot of training to execute quickly. So when he moves in, he closes the gap. You can see like he's fast for a big guy.
Right.
Joe Rogan also applauded John Jones for his sustained excellence, especially against seasoned athletes like Daniel Cormier. Rogan explained that Jones's dominance stems not only from physical ability, but also from his brilliant fight strategy and mental sharpness. He's known for overwhelming adversaries while minimizing risk to himself.
He's going to find a way to get you, and he's going to do it clever. He's not trying to take a bunch of punishment and to stand and bang. He's not going to point the center of the octagon. Let's go right here. We'll stand right here. Never going to happen with John Jones. You're not getting none of that, son. You're getting knees to the gut. You're getting your knees kicked. You're getting just laced up with elbows where your head's bleeding. He's going to slowly dismantle you and find a way to submit you or punish you, beat you to death on the ground.
However, Coach Eric Nixick pointed out that Tom Aspinall's hand speed could be an advantage over John Jones, but emphasized that Jones is exceptional at occupying his opponent's hands, as seen in his fight with Stipe Miocic. In that fight, Jones switched to southpaw and neutralized Stipe's jab, leaving him with just his cross, which Jones timed perfectly. Nixick discussed a conversation he had with Aspinall where they talked about avoiding being in the B range and getting controlled by Jones. He stressed that Aspinall would need to be aggressive in those situations, not allowing Jones to dictate the pace or rhythm of the fight.
What advantages do you see that he has over John Bones Jones?
I think hand speed. But what John does very well, and what we saw in the Stipe fight, is John will occupy your hands. So Stipe's one of his best weapons was always his jab. So you saw John switch to southpaw, lead hand occupy, which left Stipe with one punch, which was a cross. So he was timing the cross to pull off and then was adding on. So I think when you break that fight down, I actually talked to Tom on Monday. We were kind of going back and forth a little bit on some of the game planning things. You can't be in that B range and just kind of get snake charmed by John. Let him grab your hands, let him dictate the pace, let him dictate the rhythm. You have to be hyper aggressive in those positions, and I think that's what Tom would have to do in that fight.
Israel Adesanya noted that John Jones and Tom Aspinall are nearly identical in physical stature, with Aspinall being slightly taller and heavier. While he recognized Aspinall's incredible speed, Adesanya highlighted Jones's dominant ground game as a significant advantage. He concluded that unless the two actually fight, there will never be a definitive answer to who is better.
But he's the same height as me, if not an inch taller, but thick.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're a lot thicker than I would expect.
Yeah.
And the speed, that's the thing that I'm like, okay, that's the danger. But again, grappling, he's a black belt, but John is,
It's different.
yeah. But I don't know, man. They gotta fight. But if they don't ever fight, we'll never know.
However, Paddy Pimblett said that the fight between John Jones and Tom Aspinall is a must-see. While he's rooting for Aspinall and hopes he wins, Pimblett acknowledges Jones's incredible ring IQ and strategic brilliance. He admitted that it's tough to bet against Jones because of his experience in fighting intelligence.
Do you think the Aspinall-Jones fight happens?
It's got to happen. I was sitting next to Tom the other week at the UFC in London and talking to him about it.
How do you think that plays out if they fight?
I'll be honest, Tom's a friend. I love Tom. He's one of the coolest dudes in the whole of MMA. Even though Jones is getting old, I just can't pick against John Jones. The one thing I do think John Jones has got the best in the world and the best ever is his fight IQ. He has a perfect game plan to beat that person. As much as I love Tom and I want Tom to win, I couldn't pick against John Jones. It's just something I couldn't do.
Francis Ngannou wasn't sure if John Jones is purposely avoiding Tom Aspinall, mentioning that only Jones himself could clarify that. Still, Ngannou feels that Jones has earned the freedom to select his opponents, as he's in a position to call the shots in his career.
Is John Jones ducking Tom Aspinall?
I don't know if John Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall. I think John Jones would be the best to answer that question. But I think John Jones does whatever he wants and fight who he wants. I think he's in the position to claim that.
Eddie Hall thinks that if John Jones and Tom Aspinall were to fight, Aspinall would come out victorious. Despite Jones's legendary reputation, Hall believes Aspinall's skills and potential would give him the edge in the matchup. He pointed out that Jones has avoided fighting Aspinall, even saying he doesn't want to face him after his next fight.
John Jones or Tom Aspinall. So if you don't know MMA world, sorry to bore you, but Tom Aspinall is UFC's #1 right now. John Jones is, you know, he's seen as the best MMA fighter on the planet. Dana White's got a massive for him, says he's unbeatable. Honestly, I think if you put John Jones and Tom Aspinall in a room and said one man leaves, I think Tom Aspinall leaves that room. I genuinely do. I think, and I think John Jones, I mean, I can't badmouth the guy. He's got an amazing record, but he's definitely ducking Tom Aspinall, 100%. And I think he's even said he doesn't want to fight Tom Aspinall after his next fight. He's pretty much going to retire after this fight, so he's ducking Tom Aspinall.
Hall stressed that actions speak louder than words, criticizing Jones for avoiding the challenge. He feels Jones's reluctance to fight Aspinall shows fear and firmly believes Aspinall would defeat Jones if the fight ever happened.
I mean, he can say what he wants, but actions speak louder than words. So there we go. Anyway, the answer to that question is Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall is kicking John Jones.
Demetrius Johnson recognized Tom Aspinall's skills, but suggested that John Jones would likely have little difficulty defeating him. He mentioned that he was more interested in a fight between Jones and Aspinall than a potential matchup with Pereira, predicting that Jones would dominate the fight. Johnson also speculated that Aspinall's reported $30 million demand could be a barrier to negotiations for the bout.
John Jones will smoke Tom Aspinall.
I don't know, man.
He'll smoke Tom Aspinall.
Tom Aspinall is athletic. I think Tom Aspinall would try to take the fight to John Jones, and it'll be interesting to see. Like, I'd rather see that fight over Alex Pereira.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
I agree. I would like to see that fight over Alex, but come on, man. Aspinall is a great fighter.
Yep.
He's a good champion.
Aspinall.
That's what I said. John Jones will smoke Aspinall.
Yeah.
Smoke him.
I can't wait to see. I hope it happens. That's the fight that needs to happen. I think Tom Aspinall versus John Jones needs to happen.
Why do you think there's so much friction there? Why do you think it's not happening? Why? Because we see so much.
I think John Jones said
internet.
he wants $30 million.
Frank Mir acknowledges that Tom Aspinall presents a serious challenge for John Jones, but still gave the advantage to Jones because of his wrestling dominance. Mir believes Jones could neutralize Aspinall's jiu-jitsu with superior control and ground striking. He also mentioned that a win over Aspinall wouldn't drastically affect Jones's legacy, as he's already considered one of the sport's greatest legends.
I think Tom might have the best chance of anybody to beat John right now. But that being said, I still think John wins the fight just because of his wrestling. I think he puts, Tom on his back and is able to nullify his jiu-jitsu from being top position with his elbows and control. What does John win to take that fight? He goes out there and beats Tom. Is it really going to make or break his career? I don't think anybody gives a shit.
Rampage Jackson referred to John Jones as the best ever, acknowledging him as a top-tier figure in MMA. After watching Tom Aspinall's performance, Jackson praised him as a legitimate contender. However, he admitted that it's hard to imagine anyone beating Jones, stating that it would only be proven if it happens inside the cage.
Jones versus Tom Aspinall. No, John Jones is the GOAT in my book. He's one of the best. And I recently saw Aspinall fight for the first time recently, and he's a great fighter, and he's a great champion. But I think it'll be tough for me to ever say that anybody would beat John Jones until it happens.
Sean O'Malley praised John Jones for his outstanding career, but warned that a loss to Tom Aspinall could hurt his legacy. He suggested that critics might claim Jones's age and inactivity had finally caught up with him, which could lower his status in the sport.
Tom Aspinall? God damn. It's like you risk going down as no matter what, you don't have to fight again. Greatest of all time, people will say that. You're the greatest of all time. Greatest of all time. John Jones. Or you risk it. Go fight Tom Aspinall. Possibly lose. And then it's like, he was the greatest. Then they're saying, yeah, but he wasn't in his prime.
Dricus du Plessis praised Tom Aspinall for his passion and drive, while also recognizing that John Jones is likely approaching the end of his legendary career. He expressed hope that Jones retires without diminishing his legacy, and that Aspinall could step up to lead the next generation. However, du Plessis was quick to emphasize Jones's ability to dominate even the toughest opponents with ease, solidifying his place among the elite in the sport.
Aspinall is young, he's hungry. You have Jones, who is definitely at the end of his career, 38 years old. I don't need to see this because he's never been beaten. I want John Jones to retire unbeaten, and I want him to retire, and Aspinall goes on to be the next big thing. But John Jones being the warrior that is, he says, pay me enough and I'm doing it. Aspinall wants it, and one of them has to lose that fight. And that's the one thing, you look at it and go, Aspinall's probably going to win. But then, if you ask me that, I say, no. We've said that so many times with John Jones, and it makes it look easy. He is the greatest of all time, for sure.
Daniel Cormier suggested that John Jones would perform better against Tom Aspinall if he weighed around 215 pounds instead of 245 pounds. He argued that Jones's natural weight class is closer to 205 pounds, and fighting at 250 pounds doesn't suit him, as it slows him down and impacts his performance. Cormier referenced Jones's previous fight with Cyril Gane, where Jones appeared slower and less agile due to carrying extra weight. He pointed out that while Jones rarely makes mistakes in the cage, the added weight seemed to affect his abilities during that fight.
I bet if he's weighing 215, he would fight Tom Aspinall better than him weighing 245 pounds. In his 205 frame, he could fight Tom Aspinall better than he'd fight him at that 250 because that's not his weight class. While he didn't last long with Cyril, he didn't look as fast. He carried more weight. Cyril just did some weird stuff. And John, you don't make mistakes against John.
Stipe Miocic offered Tom Aspinall some advice, urging him to stay calm and composed. He noted that John Jones thrives when his opponents become reckless, so Aspinall must remain disciplined and strategic. Miocic emphasized that a patient, calculated approach is essential when facing someone with Jones's extensive experience.
Get booked with him and John Jones. What's the best advice you'd give Tom Aspinall?
Don't do what I did.
Avoid the liver shot.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? But I think Tommy, that guy, he's super tough and he hits hard. He moves well. He's a big man. I think that he stays calm under the situation, and whatever happens, he just stays calm. I think he'll be fine. He pitches shots. He's smart what he does, and I think he'll do fine.
Curtis Blades gave Tom Aspinall a slight edge, giving him a 55% chance to win, but he acknowledged that beating John Jones would be far from easy. Blades emphasized that Jones's extensive skill set and championship pedigree make him a constant threat, meaning any fight against him would be a tough challenge for Aspinall.
I think Aspinall beats him.
Yeah, I would pick him. Like, I would go 55% him, obviously. It's not gonna be a landslide. Like, we're going against John Jones. He's a legend. You got all the weapons.
Adin Ross shared his thoughts on a potential fight between John Jones and Tom Aspinall, saying that while it's a tough decision, he would lean towards John Jones for the win. He acknowledged that it would be an exciting and close fight, but suggested that if Jones comes out on top, it would solidify his legacy and likely be his final fight.
If John fights Aspinall this year, which I think it might happen.
It's going to go down, right?
Who do you think wins?
I don't know, man. I think it's going to be close. I would say I got to go for John Jones,
You have to, man. But man, I mean, that would be a crazy fight. But then it's like, if John wins that, then nobody could ever say anything.
He's done.
Yeah,
He's
this is his last fight for sure.
Jamahal Hill acknowledged that John Jones has always faced top-tier opponents and believes a fight with Tom Aspinall would be one of his toughest challenges yet. While excited about the potential matchup, Hill emphasized that it all depends on whether Jones is truly looking for one last monumental challenge in his career.
John Jones has taught us anything. You can never count him out. You never count him out no matter what the challenge is, no matter what. He's always risen to the occasion and risen to that challenge and perform exponentially. So I think that it'll be a good fight. I believe it'll be a good fight. I believe it'll probably be one of the harder fights and harder challenges that John has had in his career. So, I mean, it's all about if he wants to challenge himself like that or not.
Aljamain Sterling called the potential fight between John Jones and Tom Aspinall fascinating, but cautioned that betting against Jones is tough. He highlighted Jones's mental toughness and methodical approach as major strengths. While respecting Aspinall's athleticism, Sterling warned that if Jones manages to secure a takedown, the fight could quickly swing in his favor.
It's a very intriguing fight. If I had to put money on it, it'd be super hard for me to bet against a guy like Jones, just because I know the mindset that he comes in with. Not saying Aspinall couldn't get it done because of all those physical gifts that he has. But dog, betting against a guy like that, if he gets you on the ground, that's just a bad night.
So what are your thoughts on this? Share your thoughts in the comment section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video.